Hey,
All right, good. My audio is good, and make sure all this works. It does. All right, good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. We are, I don't know, we're at a month, just over a month into this.
Yeah. How's our sign-up rate look?
It's very light. It's ultra light. I had a problem with ClickFunnels. I don't know where the hell they went. So, my goal is really to go flip this into an ever webinar and we'll go from there.
Okay. And did you
I
do
sent,
an email campaign
I
to
sent
ClickFunnels?
out I sent out an email campaign and went to ClickFunnels. There, I don't know what happened, but looking in ClickFunnels, I had traffic to the site and I had people getting to the opt-in page, the confirmation page, but there's no contact information in the database for some reason.
And you were signing them up into Zoom, right?
I was just signing them up. I was just gathering directly into ClickFunnels. I didn't even do the integration piece. It should have just been, in the form fill page for ClickFunnels.
Oh, okay. Well, how are you going to get them into?
Well, I went back and I had updated the page to send out to give them the link earlier on when I noticed something weird was going on. So, like I said, we're going to turn this into an ever webinar, and I've got a few people. I know there's a few people coming. The bank's got some people coming. Marcella, who is the banker, is supposed to be on audio. Marcella, you there? No.
It says connecting to audio.
Yeah. But I sent out I did the whole series of emails to I don't know, a bunch of contacts, but a lot of them were cold.
Right. Okay.
Like 2,000.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Somebody came back and said the promo video was gay.
The promo video. What promo video?
Yours.
Did I have a promo video?
You had there was one video in the email.
Oh, can't
It was
remember
the
that.
standard House in the Cloud uh, short video piece.
Okay.
I was like, okay.
Well,
I was like, okay, just remove you. Move on.
tell you, I get stuff all the time from people who don't like the fact that I market security. I must not know anything about security if I'm marketing, which I find interesting. All right, so we're going to kick off the top of the hour.
We'll kick off. I will bring people in. I don't know. Let me just call Marcel and figure out where the hell she is because she said she was going to be
Oh,
on
well, Marcella
early.
shows up on my screen as connecting to audio.
And it's been that way for 5 minutes.
Right. So that means that she's
Hey,
on, but there's some connection issue.
are you having problems with the audio, Marcella? You're in.
I mean, she could go out and come back.
Oh, Marcella, what did you jumped in? You're dialing up.
Yeah, I'm in on the thing. I was able to do that.
Okay, I hear you now.
Okay. Hi,
Okay.
Marcella. I'm Dave Stelzel.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. And you're with who?
Lakeland Bank.
Oh, great. We love to have bankers on these things.
Actually, we were sponsoring it with Bob
Yeah, great. No, that's great.
of the bank, vice president and of client engagement for Lakeland Bank, and also the Suburban Chamber of Commerce and past president for Summit New Providence, Berkeley Heights. So we've worked with Tommy many times, Tommy Hilken too. So it's nice to meet you.
So,
Well, good to meet
Marcella,
you.
you want to adjust your monitor up a little higher on the
Tell
books
me
because
how to
we're
do this.
getting.
Yeah,
You
so I
said
started my career at
Good.
Bank of
Do the
America.
here? How's this? I'm sorry. How's that? Is
That's
that
good.
better, Bob?
Yep.
Okay. Uh, you remembered you told me about the books.
Marcella
Okay.
needed a laptop, iPod stand the other day, and we came up with stacking 3 books and 1 book in front of it to make it a stand.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
I've done that in hotel rooms and so forth. Absolutely.
Okay, so I'll go through, Marcella's going to do an intro of me. I'm going to intro you. We're going to put everybody on mute, like I said, because we're really going to turn this into an ever webinar because I don't know what happened with the signups. We've got 4 people waiting right now to come in. John Bremen, Terry, Bill Scalini. Not the ideal target market that I'm looking for, but that's okay. And we'll make it work.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So I've got Sean sitting in the background moderating if something does happen. Let's see. I'm going to drop people in, admit all. Debbie's iPhone, who's that?
So this comes up with my personal email.
You can rename it.
Or it should come up as Marcella's iPad, actually. Or no?
Yeah. Hey, Sean, go ahead and kill everyone's videos, please.
How are you, Marcella?
Good. How are you, Bill?
Okay.
You were in blue today. I wore blue today too. It felt like a blue day. I wanted to match Bob's color scheme, his logo. That's why I chose blue.
That's a good thought there.
I had Zoom set to mute the participants on joining. Why didn't that happen?
You didn't want me to speak?
No, I don't care. I'm just.
I'll add color. I have to take this from the car. I got to go on the road in a little bit.
That's why I want to meet you, Debbie. Okay.
You love hearing my voice, though.
Yeah, Roy, we're not doing a video call on this one. Cool. Sorry about that. Let me just set up right. No video, dude. Okay. We have a small group. Marcella, there's 10 people on the call. And I got 12 o'clock straight up.
Okay. So do you want to get started? So we're going to suspend with introductions, correct? And we're going to get ready to the program?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Hi, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Marcella, President of Client Engagement for Lakeland Bank and also part of the Suburban Chamber of Commerce. So looking forward to this wonderful partnership with Bob today. Bob's the expert on cybersecurity, and he's going to let us know how to be safe today, give us the tips and tools that we need in order to stay safe, not only today, but actually for always, things that we can't take for granted on our personal computers as well as our business computers and interaction with those that are out on the web. So take it away. I'm going to hand the mic over to Bob, and I say thank you very much and welcome to everyone.
Cool. Thanks, Marcella. I have the opportunity to bring in Dave Stesel, my CISSP. That's really a security expert that I turn to get things done. Just a little quick housekeeping things is today's webinar, all attendees are in listen-only mode. We are going to have a chat. Use the chat for any questions. We'll have a Q&A at the end. But be sure to stay till the end because we are going to help a local business and give away an Uber Eats card so that one person is going to get lunch. So when you fill out the form at the end, that will set up a survey and we will get that awarded. But today I'd like to introduce you to the guy who knows security, not just the technology, but how it affects the businesses. Dave Stesel is a CISSP, an industry expert in the field of information security. He's been working in the industry for over 20 years, has some banking experience. He's worked with companies all over the world addressing business leaders on strategies used by today's cyber gangs and insights. Dave came out and did an event for us last year, and I wanted him to come out and talk again. He's the author of 5 books, including Digital Money, Data at Risk, House at the Cloud. And today he's going to share with us 7 essential mindsets needed for securing your company's valuable assets and protecting people as they work at home. Please welcome Dave Stesel.
Thanks, Bob. And is my audio good? Okay, great. So I'm going to, first of all, I want to welcome everybody. I hope that you're doing well as you're going through this crisis. I know it's crazy out there. Everybody's working from home. But there's a number of things that I don't hear people talking about too much out there as people have moved their workforces to the house. And, you know, there's some good and there's some difficulty in that. But there are some things that are really important that everyone really does need to know about. So this is not a technical discussion. And so we are going to talk about data security today, but we're talking from a business standpoint. So if you run a business or you work in a business, I think this is going to be helpful to you, especially as you're working in different locations than you're used to working in, and perhaps using different technologies than you're used to working with. So I'm going to share some slides. I'm going to take you through, and as Bob mentioned, we'll have an opportunity for questions at the end. I'd encourage you to chat those into the chat box as we're going along. And I'm not going to stop in the middle of the presentation, but at the end, we'll definitely leave some room for that. I do have a hard stop at 1 o'clock. I've actually got another engagement I need to run to, but we'll make sure we leave time for that, and so we can get some of your questions answered. Of course, Bob can follow up on anything that is still outstanding. So let me bring my slides up here, and hopefully you can see that.
All is good.
And let me know. But digital money. So we're going to talk about not Bitcoin or some other cyber currency out there, but the thing I'd like you to keep in mind as we go through this today is your data is like money. It's a currency, and it's critical to your business. And so as you're working at home and doing whatever it is you do for business and interacting, collaborating remotely with other people in the organization you work with, it's important that you understand that everything you do online creates data, even if you're not actually, writing something. If you're leaving a voicemail, creates data. Just sending something, browsing a web server, or whatever you do, it all creates data, and all that data is worth something. And sometimes you might look at data and you might think, well, nobody cares about this data, but in fact, they do. And I'm going to show you why. I'm going to show you what they're after. I'm going to show you why that matters, and I'm going to show you how you can reduce your risk out there quite a bit, like by 80%, by making a couple of small adjustments in the way that you actually conduct your business. So we could go out in the news, and I don't have updated news clips here. I never update this slide, and the reason is it really doesn't matter. There's a news article every single day talking about some company that got hacked into, that lost data. And of course, as we're going through this virus disaster right now, and this certainly is a disaster, it's a disaster on a cyber side as well as a physical side. It's a health issue, it's a business issue, it's an economic issue, but it also is a computer issue. And so we don't want to forget about that side of it, but that's the piece I don't hear a lot of people talking about, other than it's hard to all of a sudden be working remotely if you're not used to doing that. The problem is it's filled with all kinds of contradictions, what people are telling you to do, what they're telling you not to do, and it's confusing. So today what I'd like to do is kind of separate some of the hype from the reality and show you what actually does really matter today. And it's not that complicated to understand, However, I hear a lot of security professionals out there making it more complicated, just like other professions do with their jargon to confuse everybody so that they have to hire you, I guess. But what I want to do is simplify this so you know what you really need to be doing. We're in the middle of what I call really the digitalization megatrend, or going digital, moving to the cloud. You hear all these different terms out there. And so for a minute, forget about security for a second, just think about business in general and how it's evolved over the last decade or so. And really, the clients out there, the customers out there, more and more really do want to be in a digital world. They'd rather be on an app or on a chat session or an email or a website than they would having to pick up the phone and make a phone call and talk with somebody about some kind of issue. They'd rather go online and order something from a company like Amazon than they would have to get in their car and drive to a store. And not everybody does that, but largely that's where population has gone. And if I were in a big room of people right now, which I frequently do when we're allowed to travel and go physical places, is get a raise of hands of how many people out there are subscribers to Amazon Prime. And what I find is pretty much 100% of the audiences that I speak to, no matter how big they are, because I am speaking to business people and not in some, village somewhere in some, foreign country, everybody seems to be a Prime member of Amazon, which tells me something really important. We like being online, we like buying online, we like reading reviews online, and we're willing to trust those reviews online and interact with people online. And that creates this whole trend really for every company to start thinking, how can I become more like Amazon? No matter what size you are, where you're located, or what your service is, you look at that and you go, wow, look at their stock price, look at their growth, look at their customer following, the loyalty, and the fact that you and I will pay money just to shop at Amazon, which is really kind of an incredible thing. If you think, 20 years ago, would people really want to do that? And the answer is no. But today, that's what's going on. And I'll tell you what, if I could order a pizza right now and it would show up hot with a drone from Amazon, I would. And I'm waiting for that, for that to actually be true, so I don't have to call the place across the street and run over there and get something. But that's where we are. Now, what that does is it changes everything. And of course, a lot of us working in the office. Now, I tend to work remotely just because of the type of job I'm in, out speaking and consulting and that kind of thing. But a lot of people are working in their office, working together, and they're in this sort of environment that seems safe, although it's not as safe as they think it is. And now all of a sudden they've been asked to go home and work there, and it's changed everything even again. And so hopefully, especially if you own a business and you're watching this, I want you to pay specific attention here. This is not the job of some technical guy. This is your job as the person who owns a business and wants to keep the data and the finances and the security of your strategies, your secrets, your clients, all the stuff that is yours. Want to keep that under your control. And then we're going to use technology to help you do what it is that you need to do. But you're the person responsible. Make no mistake about it. And what this really is it's a war. It really is a war, because there's organizations all over the world right now that want something that you have, and they're going to get it. The problem is, as other countries are out there, and a lot of this is foreign, although there's a lot of it here in our country itself, but even outside our country, they're looking in and they're taking advantage of this. And if you've traveled internationally like I have, I've traveled extensively. I think I've spoken in 19 different countries over the last 10 years. And what I find when I go to many of these countries is the economic conditions there aren't as good as they are here. And so people out there are trying to steal some of that from us, and they're going to do it through data. They're going to steal money directly. They're going to steal ideas and sell them. They're going to do scams and that kind of thing, and they're going to get money. But because it's not like a regular war where we've got body bags coming back from overseas, nobody gets it. It's not horrible. It's not something that we look at and go, oh no, we need to stop this. We need to go against this. But yet we want somebody to stop this, and it just doesn't seem to be stopping. Well, I'm here to tell you that your government officials, some technologist out there is not going to stop this for you. They can't. And I'm going to show you why that is. I want to take you through 7 trends right now. And I want you to think about not technology, not your computers and your passwords and your firewalls and whatever it is that you were sold the security data. I want you to think about your people. I want you to think about that person who's sitting over an accounts payable, or that person who does billing, or that person who pays bills, or that person who takes orders, or that salesperson who interacts with clients on a regular basis, or whoever it is, even partners that do things for you, like process credit cards and payroll and whatever else happens in a third party capacity with inside your company. I want you to think about the people who are using and creating data to do a job. These are not technical people. These are experts in finance, in sales, in marketing, and in other areas that help you grow and build and conduct business. But what's happening out there? Now, a lot of this is documented in a book that I wrote just a couple of years ago, Digital Money. And in there, I explain this diagram right here, which I call the impact likelihood graph. It's a XY axis, and it's an important concept. And if you leave nothing else today, this is the one thing, this one picture that I would like you to remember and just kind of burn into your mind right now. It is the measurement of the impact on the x-axis of what happens if something bad happens in your world. A computer goes down, an application is not available, email doesn't work, or worse yet, somebody's siphoned money out of your bank account, somebody has scammed you, somebody has done something that steals money from your company or takes money out of it, or steals an idea. Maybe you've got something that you're inventing, something you're getting ready to patent, and somebody takes it from you after 10 years of R&D. All these things happen, and the impact of that disaster is great. And you know what it is if that's you, if you run that business or you're responsible for that thing. And the question that needs to be answered is, well, what's the likelihood that something bad will happen? And that is generally the thing that is missing. Nobody seems to be able to quantify what's the likelihood. And I like to compare this to a health issue. I was talking to some folks yesterday about spending money and taking action and doing things. And I just said to them, you know, what happens if somebody tells you, a doctor diagnoses you right now, okay, you got the coronavirus thing going on out there. There's a lot of things people aren't doing. They're not, you know, doing certain activities. They're not doing a lot of things. But if someone came along and said, your recent blood work tells me that you probably have cancer. Now, I hope that that's not the case with anybody out there. But it really wouldn't matter if they want you to wear a mask or want you to stay at home or want you to do whatever they want you to do during this disaster. You would take action. You would get yourself to the hospital. You'd figure out what treatment needs to happen. You probably wouldn't even consult your budget. You probably wouldn't even think that hard about your insurance plan. You would just want to get well. Because the likelihood that you have cancer because a doctor diagnosed it right there is high in your mind, 99%. And until they give you a clean bill of health or tell you in remission or something, you're going to pursue that treatment because you want to live. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to die from a computer virus, but I am saying that hackers out there do put companies out of business. And if you're running a business right now, the last thing you want is to be put out of business, whether it's from some economic disaster going on right now, or on top of all this, somebody steals all your data. And so as you've sent people home and people are working at home, you want to make sure that you got the right stuff in place because it's not that hard to do. You just need to know it needs to happen. And what is the likelihood that right now, the way you're set up, somebody will come in and steal something from you? And if you are reading the news, you know that the hackers out there they know that we're in the middle of a disaster. They know that people are scrambling for information. They want to know how those loans work. They want to know how the virus is progressing or what the rules are now in their neighborhood or when they can open back up and serve food at their restaurant or whatever it is. And so these scammers are sending out information that's enticing and people are clicking on that stuff and they're getting infected by malicious code that is set up to steal passwords as they log into their bank accounts, pay bills, and do whatever else it is they do, file taxes or whatever. It's just a bad time because people are afraid. So remember this graph. You need to know, what is the impact of certain things happening in my organization and what's the likelihood that they actually happen? And I'd like to take you through some things that either increase or decrease that likelihood based on how you're computing. And again, I want you to think about your people. Now, there are 3 things that the hacker out there is generally going to use. And then I'm going to take you through these 7 things that you need to be aware of. 3 things and then 7 things. The 3 things are used inside the 7 things. So these are the foundational issues. They're not new. I didn't make them up. They've been around for 2 decades at least. And the first one is some kind of software that we call a bot that simply is designed to infiltrate your computer through an email, through a website, through some connection, and take over your computer, steal your passwords, listen to you from your microphone, watch you through your camera on there, infect other computers around you, or even assemble all the computers that it can get access to launch an attack against someone else. So the bot is some malicious software. It's not a virus, by the way. It's just a piece of software. And many times virus protection software, antivirus software, won't even see it. It's just a piece of software designed to do something that you don't want to do. And it's usually put on your computer by somebody out there that you don't know, and they control it from some computer out there. And you don't see it. And you won't see it, by the way. Number two is the phishing technology, which is simply the means of getting that bot out there through some distribution, through an email that says, you know, we got information about the coronavirus, or we've got a tracking number for you because your shipment's on its way, or there's a new law you need to know about, or something. And these emails are well crafted. They used to be emails written in broken English, and you read the thing, you go, that's ridiculous. But today, these things really do look real. I mean, I've seen things like court subpoenas come through, and they look real. They look legitimate. And you have no idea that they're not real. And number three is the social engineering, which is the broad term, meaning that I can talk you into, convince you of just about anything. If I sound like I know what I'm talking about, and I am aware of your company and you, and I want to use that social engineering process either to call you or to email you or connect with you somehow through some means in order to get this malware technology on your computer so that I can take over. And again, you will not see this, but these three things are used. Now, here are the 7 trends that are going on that are creating a problem. First of all, everybody thinks that they're secure because they have antivirus software. They're using a password. And many times they're sitting behind a firewall if they're within an office. But now they've gone home. I got news for you. Most homes don't have firewalls. But even in your office, it's child's play for a hacker to get through a firewall. Firewalls are full of holes. It's a bad term. Okay, the thought is it blocks everything. Well, it doesn't, because email has to get through, and that's how they're sending it in, email, right? Web traffic has to get through, and other kinds of traffic comes through a firewall, and the hackers know what that traffic is, and they come right through those holes right into your location. Now, it gets worse, though, because you've sent all your people home. So now they're sitting at home, and they have something maybe called VPN, or virtual private network technology, which simply creates a tunnel right through your firewall into your corporation. So you've got people who are sitting home with networks that are totally not secure, with a pipe right through your firewall into your company. And nobody's really talking about that. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as I go through these other trends. So number one is we just think we're secure because everything looks okay, and because we've got some stuff that people told us will keep us secure, like our password, which it doesn't, by the way. And then number two is the social engineering thing I mentioned a moment ago. And the thought is that I would be able to detect a scam. If somebody called me up, I would know better. I would know that they sounded like they were some foreign country. But that's not true. There's many people in our country that have an accent from some country. Just because you have an accent doesn't mean you're a criminal at all. And what about if I tell you I'm your IT support person? Are you going to believe me? What if I tell you I work for Bob? How do you know I don't? You don't. What if I pretend to be somebody in another office, or because you're working at home, I'm just somebody else in your company giving you a call? Maybe I'm doing tech support. Maybe I work in finance. Maybe I work somewhere. But it's easy. In fact, there's a whole book written by one of the early hackers, Kevin Mitnick, where he explains how to talk anybody into anything. It doesn't require computers and hacking and programming. It just requires a phone. I call you. I ask you to do stuff. You're a nice person, you're trying to get your job done, and you're going to help me. And that's the way we work. It's the way we have to work. We got to be customer oriented. So all I have to do is fake it, and I'm in. Number three is the whole idea that we can just hand everybody their own device, and that's what everybody has. Now, this has been multiplied in its disasterness. I'm not against using your own device, but I do want you to be aware of a few things when you turn somebody all over to use their own device. First of all, they're working at home right now. Their kids are home from school, and their kids are also working on computers. So you got two kinds of people: business people working on sensitive things, and you got school people working on whatever they're working on. But I'll tell you what they're working on. They're connecting with friends on peer-to-peer networks to play games And if you haven't heard that term, peer-to-peer networks, that simply means that I'm going to connect my computer to your computer, not in the same way that you connect to your bank, but more as peers, where we can exchange information. Like I can look at your hard drive and I can download files from your computer, like, pirated music and movies and pornography and whatever else it is that you have on your computer. And in fact, I can set this up across the globe and we can all share computers and we can play games and we can exchange files and all kinds of stuff. Well, some studies have been done on this technology and it's very dangerous, but you don't know it exists. You don't know your kids have set this up on their networks, but it's just one way that completely exposes everything you've got going on in your home to them. I also know for a fact, because I've seen this done in my own home, where the person installing my cable connection to the internet comes in, sets up my stuff, and leaves the password as admin. I don't know how many people out there have the password admin on their home, but the hackers know that. Okay? And it's just not that hard to get in. All you got to do is, write a program that goes and tries that across millions of homes, and they're going to get in. There's just a million ways to get into your home, especially through your kids. Unpatched systems, out-of-date software, just all kinds of things that are going on at home. So this whole bring your own device has turned everybody over to be their own IT department, and there's nobody watching over the security of that stuff, but at home, it's even worse. And your firewall technology is doing nothing because you've given them access to your company, and you have to. Question is, what can you do to prevent it? Number 4, now everybody's on social media, and I'm not saying we should get rid of social media, but I do want you to understand a couple of interesting things about social media, and I'm sure there's a lot more social media interaction happening right now because everybody's working at home, and half the population isn't really even working because they're on furlough or something like that, and they're all on social media. Now, social media is an interesting concept because it's free to be on Facebook, but yet Facebook here on this little tagline at the bottom of the slide here is the 6th most valuable company in America, $350 billion valuation. How did that happen? What do they own? And the answer to that is nothing except for your data. And then here's the funny thing, you gave your data to them for free and they turned it into $350 billion in assets. How did they do that? Well, what they've done is they've convinced you to put all kinds of good stuff on social media. And so the more we use social media, if you remember 20 years ago, we were afraid to make a video of ourselves. We look stupid on video, especially even earlier. Like I say, back in the 80s when those big cameras first came out and people were buying them for their home and doing home videos, and nobody wanted to be on camera. But today, everybody wants to be on camera, and they don't really care what they look like. They don't care what time of day it is. They don't care if they're drunk or sober. In fact, they'll even do it naked. Even if they're ugly, they'll do it naked. What does that mean? They'll do anything today on social media, and social media knows that, and they also know that their ratings and their views and their followings and everything is going to go up the juicier that content is. Now, they put some things in place that they don't allow you to put on there, but it's pretty loose if you've been out there. Now, the problem with that is it is easy for these systems. We call this aggregation, data aggregation, and there's actually 4 big companies, bigger than Facebook, that aggregate data. But here's the real scary thing about this. They are collecting data and analyzing that data with supercomputers and then figuring out everything they can about you. So if you've ever been on Facebook and run an ad on Facebook, I bet none of you have ever posted your salary on Facebook, but yet Facebook knows your salary. It knows where you live. It knows all kinds of things about you that you don't realize. And the reason it knows that is because it can take millions of pieces of data and it can sort that stuff all out and analyze it and come back with a profile on exactly who you are. And when a hacker gets a hold of that, they can become you on the internet. That means they can take out loans. It means they can send email from you. It means they can make decisions that only you can make. It means they can do a whole lot of things that can steal from you and destroy your reputation, all the way down to making it look like you're following and storing child pornography. And people have been busted for that. And by the time anybody sorts it out and figures out that they're not actually guilty, their family's gone. It destroys them, and it will destroy your business. So social media is dangerous if you don't understand how to protect yourself against some of the threats that come in that door. Then we have the insider threat. Don't think for a moment that everybody inside the company is honest. In fact, the Wall Street Journal did a study. 75% of employees admit that they steal from their company. Now, what about the other 25%? They didn't admit it. They just lied. Number 6, nation state attacks. Now, that's going to be up right now. Why? Because we're down. And it's a good time to hit the person who's down. So we won't talk a lot about this, but this just means other countries want what we have. Our economy has been strong, and they want our inventions. They want our money. And of course, at some point, we're going to face cyber warfare in a bigger way than we have, but we've already seen instances of it where power grids are knocked out and other things. Now, the point is to look out at your people and understand these people that work for me are good at finance and marketing and, customer service and whatever it's selling, whatever it is they do. But they don't understand data security. And when these messages are coming in at them from all these different areas, and they're working at home, working with their kids and doing all this stuff, getting phone calls from who knows who, they don't really know how to discern between the good and the bad. And they are exposing your data every day. And that will put you out of business. Now, that's part one, and that's the bad part. But I want to get into some things here that deliver some hope, because there are some things we can do. We're just not doing them. And that's why Bob invited me here to speak today, because I want to show you some of the things you can be doing to bring that likelihood down. Remember, it's a question of impact versus likelihood. You cannot reduce the impact of downtime or loss of data or stolen data, data misuse, and things like that. But you can reduce the likelihood if you take the proper steps. And that's what I want to show you here today. But I do want to bring this slide up because a lot of people think that if they're compliant, they've done what they're supposed to do. And the fact is, compliance is bureaucracy. You've got to be compliant. It's the law. However, most compliance regulations do nothing to protect your data. You see, a lot of compliance things out there are really focused on protecting the consumer from their data being misused by the company, but they do nothing to keep the hacker away from the data in the company. Very little. You think about things like HIPAA, PCI, and other things, they're not protecting you. Anybody can get through the things that are put in place to meet one of those regulations. So be compliant, but then start thinking about security, because they're two separate issues. And when I hear somebody say, we've got this covered, we're good, done what we need to do, I think you have no idea. It's going to take you 200 days, according to the FBI, to know if you've been hacked. So 200 days from now, we'll find out if you were good today. And 201 days from now, we'll find out if you're good tomorrow. You can't really go out there and say, we got it covered. All you can say is we're watching, we're waiting, we're hoping, because this is bad. But let's move into some things that you can do to change this, to turn it around, because there are some things that aren't that difficult to do if you would just do them. But I don't hear a lot of people talking about this stuff, and it seems like the average IT person doesn't understand this, and I understand why, and here's why. Because they're different disciplines. Security is a step above the IT education. It's like you got the general practitioner, the family doctor. Okay, well, they're great, if I got a cold or something like that and I need to take an antibiotic, so forth, I go see the family doctor and they help me out. But if I've got a problem seeing, or I'm about to have a heart attack, going to the family doctor is a waste of time. I need to go see a specialist. Can you imagine walking into your family practitioner and him looking in your eye and going, oh yeah, you need eye surgery. I've always wanted to do one of those. Just lay it on the table here, we'll take care of it. You're not gonna let that guy touch your eye, right? You're going to the eye surgeon, some guy who's been to like a whole bunch of more years of school and done a bunch of operations, and you're even going to want to know that they've been in the field for a while. Like, this isn't your first eyeball exercise, right? I'm not letting anybody touch my eye. And that's what data security is. It's a special area. It is not IT. So when someone comes to you and says, yeah, we know about Windows and all that stuff, don't assume that they also know about security. Find out. Do some research. See what kind of certifications they have. Do these people know security or not? They need to, because it's an important aspect of this. Anybody can take care of a PC if they're an IT person. not security. But let me show you this because it's a pretty simple equation. It's just that people haven't addressed it like this. So I want to be non-technical. We could dive into all kinds of technology and make it all confusing, but we don't need to. I just want you to think about your home right now, and is your home a safe place to be? Do you feel comfortable in your home right now? And I hope that you do. I hope you feel safe there. But what is it that makes your home safe? Now, depending on where you live, you've probably put a bunch of things in place. People have sold you things, and I've certainly done that as well. I lock my doors at night. I lock my windows. I make sure, if I had a fence set up, maybe in certain kinds of properties, I might have that. Got an alarm installed. Got Crime Watch, maybe, although that doesn't seem to be useful anymore. Maybe there's some cameras monitoring connected to an ADT type monitoring service. They'll dispatch the police. I got the police on here. I might have a pet. I might own a firearm or some kind of weapon, maybe, maybe not, depending on where I live again. Probably have some kind of insurance in case it just doesn't work out. Okay, so I got all this stuff to protect my home, keep people out. Problem is, this stuff right here that I was sold doesn't actually work. Houses are broken into every day. In fact, if you were to look around your home, you'd realize it's easy to break in. And if we were in a room live here today, one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, what's most important on this list? Well, it turns out this list of stuff doesn't work, but there is something here that does work, and it's a system that takes these things and puts them into parts of a system, kind of like a car. You got a bunch of parts in your driveway, you can have all the parts there, but if they're not assembled correctly, it's not going to run. But if you put them together correctly, all of a sudden it does run, and it turns out security is made up of 3 things, not all these 12 things. Protection, detection, and response. 3 key pillars of security. I got to protect people, keep people out. I got to detect if they break in, and I need some kind of response mechanism. So when I go out and I speak to live audiences, I usually ask, well, which one of these 3 columns do you think is most important? You need all 3, but one of these is really critical and needs to be nearly perfect. And do you know that 90% of the time when I go out and speak to an audience, they get the column wrong, or at least the majority of the audience gets it wrong? Even security officers for banks. I was speaking at a conference down in Florida not too long ago, and I asked that question. I had about 300 security officers from banks around the country. Appreciate the fact that we have bank sponsorship here today from Lakeland. And I always like to have banks on these sessions because lots of people are calling them when they're discovering fraudulent things happening in their world. And if all the people that the bank did business with, all the small businesses understood this, they could really reduce the workload on the bankers who were trying to help them manage their money. But as I asked this question, I got 1/3 of each on each column. Out of 300 people, I probably got 100 people voting for each one of these columns. So even if I'm wrong, 2/3 of them were wrong. But which one is it? It'd be interesting to know what you thought. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, most people do pick protect. It's the obvious one. Keep people out and we're going to be good. And that would be true, except it doesn't work. If you look around your home, you'd realize how easy it is to break in. The only problem is, will I get detected? Will somebody be home? Will they fight me? Will they shoot me? Will the police show up? Is there a big dog on the other side of that door? Detection is the key. Now, you might have said responses. That's probably the number 2 answer I get, but you can't respond without good detection. And if the detection's good enough, the person who's going to break into the house and they know it's good, then they know they're going to get detected and they're not going to do it. Detection is the thing that has to look and be the best. You can have okay protection. You need something in place. You got to have your door to know somebody broke in, but you need to know they broke in, and then there needs to be a response plan. Now think tonight for a moment, if someone were to break into your home, and I hope this certainly doesn't happen, but if they did, and they had the intention to harm you or anybody who was home, because everybody is home right now, right? So if someone breaks in, they know you're home, and they're prepared to take some kind of action that's going to be bad. And your door makes a loud noise. You're sleeping at night. You hear this bang. The door breaks through. Somebody comes in, and the alarm goes off. Okay, well, it all worked, right? The door was loud. The alarm went off. So you had protection. It got broken. You got detection. It happened. Let's say it dispatches the police. They get notified. They're on their way. Now what happens? Now, I'm not going to answer that question for you, because we're not here to talk about physical security, but it does bring up an interesting point, and that is that the physical world has done pretty good in detection. but a lousy job in response. Most people have no response plan. And the amount of time it would take the police to get to your home, I don't know what would happen. But what happens on the network side? On the network side, we're using firewalls, passwords, and encryption. What's that? Those are all column one things. Keep them out. Firewalls, passwords, encryption, keep them out of my data. And the point is, it's not that hard to break through those things. A simple email with a link that convinces you to click on it's going to open that up, and they're going to be able to see whatever's on your computer, hear whatever you're doing, see you through your computer video monitor. I mean, there's all kinds of things that suddenly happen, and you have no way to detect it. That's what the FBI was telling us. It takes 200 days to know that somebody actually is in your computer right now, taking your data, stealing your passwords, or doing whatever they want to do. And then, of course, when you do detect it 200 days later, you're probably out of business by then, but there's no response plan. What do we do now? And so as a result, we have computers being taken over in droves around the country, and pretty much any company that I would go into right now and do a security assessment on, and I wish we were in a live room and I could ask how many people here have done a security assessment in the last, say, 12 months, and I'd probably find that very few, especially in small and medium business, have done any kind of assessment other than the required PCI assessment, which is meaningless. I know because I have to do that assessment too. Very few have done it. This is what security should look like. There should be an emphasis on detection. Remember the house: protection, detection, response. Focus on detection. Timed response across the people, the technology, and the physical world. It's 9 boxes that work together with an emphasis on the ability to detect in a real-time response plan. And only when this is in place does it work. Now, just like my house illustration, it would be expensive to arm the home that I'm in right now to keep people out and really keep them out. But detection is not that expensive. I just need someone monitoring it. I need some cameras and sensors and things like that in place. And if I have that, I've got monitoring, and if I've got a team ready to respond in the course of an incident, it will work. It's not that big a deal. It's just that nobody's done this because they've been told, they've been sold technology that they were promised would keep people out, like a password. It's not true. We need something that is predictive, real-time, and responsive. We need intelligence. We need to know what's happening inside that network. That will fix 80% of your problem. It will take your impact likelihood graph and it will drive that likelihood down. Impact doesn't change, but the likelihood does. Why? Because I'm watching. And the hacker, by the way, can see that. They can see that you've got monitoring stuff in place, and they don't want that. They're going to go next door because they don't want to be detected. Now, the last thing I want to cover, and we'll cover this fairly quickly, is there needs to be a mindset of security. Now, people have moved home, and they need to start thinking about what they're doing in their house, who's on their computers, what computers are being used, what email accounts are being used. But the thing that really has to happen, especially now that people are in their homes, is there has to be a detection in place. You've got people in their homes with you don't know what's on their network, and they're coming straight into that company through the firewall with no detection in place in most cases. But there is technology that can watch that traffic. And if something bad comes from someone's home into your company, you want to know it right when it's coming in. That's real-time detection. Again, it's all available. It all exists. It's available for the small business and the mid-sized business. People just aren't doing it. And there must be a response plan. Number 2, everybody that's in your company, everybody needs to understand that data is money. I don't care how boring their job is, how boring the data looks, how big the data looks. I've heard people say, well, there's just so much data, who could sort through this? We're talking about computers here. Computers don't care how big stuff is. They sort through stuff in seconds, in fractions of seconds. They will find the stuff that's interesting. You can search the whole World Wide Web in seconds. And that's the way computers work. So everyone there needs to know your data is worth money. And when I start aggregating it, like Facebook and other marketing organizations have done, I can create a profile and I can do all kinds of things with your data that will generate money, illegal money for the hacker. And you don't want that to happen. Number 3, everybody in your company needs to know that compliance is not security, but you need to be compliant. It's the law. So don't get slapped with fines because you're not compliant. Be compliant. And then be secure. Get your impact likelihood graph. Get somebody to assess your security on a regular basis. Get your protection, detection, and response in place. Compliance doesn't do that. Number 4, we need to get our employees to stop complaining about security. I hear this all the time. Oh, I got to change my password again. Why does it have to be 8 or 9 or really 12 characters now, right? That's what people are saying. It should be 12 characters long. Why is that? Because it takes longer for a computer to figure it out, but they'll still figure it out. Security is the thing that enables you to let people work at home. And if you've got the proper detection in place and you can see what's coming and going, you can lock people's computers down. There's technology out there to segment personal phones and other kinds of devices. By the way, as a side item here, if your data is sitting on somebody else's computer on their personal device, you don't have the right to go get on their personal device and erase that if they leave the company. It's their device. So you really do need to have policies and things in place that tell what are your data supposed to be, what's supposed to happen to it, and what you own. And if somebody's going to put that on their own computer, there has to be a policy that addresses that. That gives you permission ahead of time to take whatever action needs to be taken. This is where things like the cloud really come into play, keeping your data in a place where you can centrally manage it. I'm not talking about free clouds. I'm talking about cloud services that you manage and own and oversee that your employees then use. Number 5, your data is a secret. So it needs to be kept secret. And the way that happens is by taking the rights away from everyone in the company, not giving them read and write and delete rights to all data. You really do want to, on a regular basis, sit down and figure out who should have access to what data and where does that data sit and what guards that data. Some data is worth a lot of money, other data is not worth as much, but it all needs to be understood. Where is it? Who has access to it? Who can see who has access to it? Is there an audit trail to it? Are we sharing a password to this data so we don't really know who's accessing it when? This all leads to trouble. It's not a difficult thing to fix. There are tools to centrally manage all of this. Number 6, understand if somebody wants to get into your data, they can. Okay? They can, just like your home, they can get in. Don't ever think they can't get in here. Don't ever do a security assessment to show that you're secure. You're not. Instead, prove that you can detect and respond before it's too late. That's what you want to be able to show. You want to show that in your home, in your business, and certainly with your data. And then number 7, you've got to have a response plan. You have to be ready to respond. You cannot assume that there's not going to be an issue out there. Years ago when I was early college years, I had a summer job as a lifeguard instructor. I was teaching people how to be a lifeguard and signing off their cards. And one day my camp director asked me to take all the camp counselors at the end of the camp season down to the ocean. The time I was working out on Long Island, South Shore Beach. I'd never lifeguarded on an ocean before, but it's kind of an interesting opportunity. I'd always lifeguarded at lakes up in the Adirondack area, if you're familiar with that. And I had worked at pools in camps and that sort of thing. But here I am heading out to the ocean. We got there early in the morning because, it gets super congested in the summertime on these ocean beaches. So I get out there and my folks are all swimming out there and I got my whistle and I've got everybody buddied up and all that sort of stuff. But no one else had shown up yet. So I'm out there on the beach and all of a sudden there's this girl out there who has been through my class. She is a new certified lifeguard, but she is being swept out off the Long Island beach by a riptide and she can't get back. And she's yelling for help to me and I'm looking out there and she's way out there and the waves are big and the water is cold. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't even know if I can swim out that far and get her and get back. If you've ever been caught in a riptide, you know what that's like. It's just, you kind of got to go out and swim with it. It's a big deal. I'm thinking, I don't know if I can do that. And I just locked up, couldn't move, didn't know what to do. I should be out there. I'm not. And I'm just kind of watching this. And suddenly this guy runs past me and he's got this red torpedo under his arm. And he is the ocean lifeguard. He's just shown up on the scene. He sees this girl out there and he races out there because he's used to doing this. He's got the equipment and he knows what to do. I'm a lifeguard. I'm a lifeguard trainer, but I don't have the equipment. I totally did not expect to have to jump in the water and respond to anybody. And so I just locked up. I was not ready. And that's what most people are doing. They're just standing there expecting to see something, expecting it to work out, and it won't. You've got to have a response plan. You have to assume they can get in, and you have to be ready to respond. So at the beginning of the session, I said you need to make sure you understand what is your impact, what is your likelihood. This is what your assessment does, and then you need to move to a detection response strategy. Two things: assess your risk, impact likelihood, get your detection response equation in order. So that's all I have for you today. We've left some time for questions, and I'm going to turn it back over to Bob to facilitate that question period, and hopefully that's helpful.
Thanks, David. We got one question, or at least actually it's a question that a lot of our clients have come up with. You know, we went home over the weekend on a Friday and found out over the weekend that we weren't allowed to go back to work. A bunch of IT teams have enabled Windows Remote Desktop, and people think they're safe. You have any comments on remote desktop?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what the technology is. No remote technology, remote desktop, or some other tool that allows you to do remote access is secure. Now, what I mean by that is you're going to get an encrypted connection, which means that people can't see your data. But the fact is, when you're working on a computer, your data is not encrypted. So even if you have like disk encryption on your computer, some of you have seen that. I don't want to get too technical about this here. You can you can get with Bob's engineers and get into the super techie stuff, but I'm assuming we're having more of a business conversation here. So
Sure.
A business person's working on the computer, they've enabled encryption, but when you turn that computer on and start working on it, it's not encrypted anymore. Nobody tells you that, but that is the fact. So when you're working on remote desktop, the same thing is true. You're communicating in an encrypted fashion with your company, but the stuff you're processing is not encrypted. And it's not difficult for a hacker to install software on your computer that's going to allow them to grab stuff off your screen or see what's coming in on the other side. So malware always defeats any of these technologies unless we have some other traffic monitoring type application in place. In other words, I need to be able to see your traffic in order to detect an issue.
Cool.
Okay, hopefully that's...
I think that probably answered the question. Thanks. I think that the Q&A is empty. So
I think
hey guys, I want to thank David for coming out. This is really important stuff. We are seeing evidence of many of the things that David's talking about. Now with people working at home, it's even more critical to know what's happening between cybercrime, espionage, hack division. Our goal is really here to actually help stop that. We're actually put together a program to remotely assess home computers. Like David said, we can't control what's on them, but our business really needs to know what's going on there. We would normally do an assessment of the office networks, and given access that we don't have right now, we actually came up with a process to do that for the home computers. So that's something we can reach out and do. One of the things that we talked about that was shared on this call was that it was sponsored by Lakeland Bank, which I thank Marcella for doing. And I'm going to pop up a poll right now that has a link to actually go and submit the poll, and then we'll do the lunchtime drawing. So if you just go to click.metromsp.com, there's a quick poll question there, and my thanks to David for coming out to, actually he didn't come out to New Jersey. So I'm gonna leave the poll up for a few minutes. We're actually gonna let Google pick the winner of our lunchtime poll. And one person has clicked, let's see. Where is the spreadsheet? You need, instead of clicking on yes, you actually have to go to the website. Let me, I'll share it a little better for you. It's in the chat. Go to click.metromsp.com. With all the Zoom stuff that's going on, I can't put links in Zoom anymore, so people can't click on them. is actually, I'm gonna. Okay, guys, I just opened up all the calls. The website is up and running, but I don't see anybody going to it. So with that, I think we will wrap up the call.
So Bob, I did try going to it, but it just sends me to your website, president and co-founder, right? What do I do after
No,
that?
you should have went to. It should have been a form fill. It was
Nope. That's not what it's sending me to, sweetie.
metromsp.com.
MetroMSP.com, correct.
Yeah. I just.
Yep, that's what I got.
That's bizarre because.
Just put my glasses on to make sure.
I love it when I'm changing stuff on the fly, but.
Just so you know why you're not getting responses is
Yeah,
because
click
you
that.
didn't respond to.
I wonder why I get it and you don't. Okay. Let's, we'll do the drawing a different way. So I have a list of people here. Let me see, we got 12 people on the call. This is not the way I wanted to do it, but. And why don't you just give me a number between 1 and 12. Somebody call-
7.
7. Beautiful. So here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Bill gets lunch.
Nice. Congratulations, Bill.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you, David, and stay safe and keep me informed of all the new advances that are coming out, because I saw yesterday that 137,000 new COVID-19 related domains were registered since December.
Big deal. Yeah.
Cool.
Crazy.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone, and have a good
Thank you.
day.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Bob.
Thanks, guys.
Hi.
Bye.
Congratulations, Bill.